What's up, War Rapport family? Fall back, spring forward. Coach Hugh Freeze is trying to move Auburn football forward this March at the start of spring practices. We're going to talk about it. And, of course, there was a basketball game. Auburn did not win. We're going to talk about how they blew a 17-point lead to be only left with one game to try to make it into the NCAA tournament. This is your Midweek Rapport. In here, myself, Ike Jones, and B. Will. This is your Midweek Rapport, starring the three of us and minus Caesar. Caesar's got the night off. So I want to get this started by saying, hey, listen, if you like what we're doing, maybe just share this video at the War Rapport and use hashtag Get Your Weight Up to get our stuff out there. As always, like and subscribe on YouTube. We finally hit 10,000. Guys, we did it. Now we need 20,000 like next month. So tell all your cousins to subscribe to the War Rapport so we can hit that next milestone. You can check us out on Twitter, Instagram, and, of course, on TikTok at TW Rapport. Before we get started, Ike Jones, hit the people with the announcements, with the housekeeping.
Yeah, typically, I'm doing these film breakdowns, but because we were going live tonight and because I was traveling yesterday and because I didn't get one to you guys today, but I will definitely try to make up for that tomorrow. Trying to decide on how petty I want to be on this and do, referee stuff. But, maybe we'll get to some of that stuff later. I'm kind of tired of talking about officials, but we got to talk about the game. So I guess we got to talk about it. Anyway, has nothing to do with the fact that you guys should hit the join button, which allows you to get access to all of this great membership content that we got. $5.99 gets you to patron level. And that is when you become enshrined into the halls of internet lore. And I think like golden doves descend on you, and then like Steve Jobs says, this is my beloved child and who I'm well, something like that. I forget what all happens. But yeah, something like that happens. But yeah, you could do that right now and become a member of the greatest internet community that ever existed. You can also gift memberships if you are a member. This is now something that you can do from your phone, right? You don't have to be on a desktop computer. You can gift memberships from your phone as well. You have to be in a live chat. You can give away as many memberships as you want to, and YouTube will randomly assign them to other people who are huddled masses outside looking to get in, shivering, and you can help them out by getting them a 1-month membership on you. We give away stuff all the time, and we're going to give away a mug. So hashtag Get Your Weight Up right now in the live chat. Sponsored by War Eagle Oil. Head over to wareagleoil.com for all of your motor oil and motor-related products. But yeah, we're going to give away this special War Rapport mug, and it's a great mug to be able to have to sip the tears of Bama fans who are whining and complaining about winning somehow. I don't even understand how that's happening, but they are doing it anyway. But we appreciate everybody who's continuing to support us. But free mug for somebody tonight. Yeah.
Yep, free mug. Now, guys, let's just jump right in here. I want to get the show started with some hope. Let's talk about hope first. Auburn started spring practice. Myself and B. Will were in attendance to watch the 5 minutes of practice that they allowed the media to watch. During that 20-minute, it was a 20-minute viewing period. We saw some things. Ike, we talked a little bit. I want you to get your thoughts on the start of spring practice here. B. Will and I will recap some of our thoughts, but I want to get your thoughts first. Quarterbacks, wide receivers, linebackers, running backs, they were all out there. They held 3 guys out of practice. Cam Riley among them, probably most notable. And when I say held out, he was in an orange non-contact jersey, but he was out there. But tell us what you think about the start of the Hugh Freeze era here on the practice field.
Yeah, I mean, I am encouraged by what the players are saying, which is that they like the staff that we have. Right? They feel like some players are noted as saying this might be the best staff that they've ever encountered, which is wild. But loving the fact that they are doing that. I am encouraged by the energy that the coaches have said that the players have approached spring with thus far. And I am encouraged that it does seem as if we are going to, though we have touted that it was the first time ever, we might actually have a true quarterback competition this spring where everybody is able to go out there and compete for the starting job on even footing. And it's going to be great to see.
An actual quarterback. I have some thoughts on that, but I want to jump down to B. Will. Like B, I mean, you were out there, so you saw what I saw.
Yeah.
Just kind of recap for the folks who maybe didn't see our morning drop, what you saw, and walk us through that 20-minute viewing period.
I mean, it wasn't too much to see, but we did see that something Ike already kind of pointed at. It's a QB competition. There was nobody getting like 5% of the reps. I mean, everybody was throwing. Every wide receiver was out there taking snaps. I think it was really impressive. We got a 6'6" wide receiver. It's like, okay, yeah. It's like, dang, this is a really tall dude. Like that, again, that was the biggest takeaway from that 20-minute session. We like, wow, this is
Nick Martner. Yeah.
Like range is crazy. So the quarterbacks were out there throwing. Nobody looked especially bad enough to where I was like, oh, I need to write this down because this guy's looking to like we didn't see any of that. I don't think we're going to get to see any of that with how little they showed us in this session. We're probably going to get like some 20-minute outset that's just, bare minimum info, which is the coaches writing, which you understand. They're doing the hard work behind the scenes, behind closed doors. But nothing too much to draw so far. There's nothing too much to draw from it. I think things are going to be settled at running back. That pecking order is probably the only thing that is, I don't want to say is predetermined, but the work that Jarquez Hunter has done already, I think speaks loudly enough for him. That's not a competition. It's more of a, all right, well, how are we going to build the offense with this running back and with these running backs we have in the room? But I don't think that's a pecking order that has to be decided. That's already been decided. Quarterback is going to be interesting, though. I think, just like I think it's wide open. I don't think anything's been decided, and I am hoping that the best guy wins it. And I'm still interested to see who they're going to get because I said this from the jump. They're going to get somebody else. I have that feeling and that suspicion they're going to get somebody else no matter what it shakes out this spring. But kind of something that you said before, Mike, like what if one guy looks spectacular in the spring and they still go get somebody else, like, which is completely possible.
Yeah.
I'm interested to see how it works out. There's no fear or worry or anything like that. Just interest and excitement that football is back.
Yeah, listen, that viewing period was like, hey guys, look, we got guys on scholarship.
Yeah.
Just in case you were wondering, we still got football players at Auburn. The Jarquez Hunter looks ready to go. All the running backs looked diesel. Yeah. So because we didn't see much in terms of, it's like, I don't really want to see a guy hit a pad personally, when I go out there to view practice. So we didn't really see any one-on-ones. The most exciting thing we watched was the quarterbacks throwing to the receivers. Right. So Robbie Ashford and TJ Finley were in a group throwing next to each other. Holden Garner and Sawyer Pate were going after them, but again, they were throwing with each other. They were throwing simultaneously, so that's how they were running that drill that we watched.
Right.
And we saw Rivaldo Fairweather out there. We saw Nick Martner. I mean, I can't stress enough. I was impressed, Ike, by size. And I was just thinking, man, when was the last time we had a receiver like this at Auburn? Sammy Coates, maybe.
I don't even know how tall is Sammy.
I think he was like 6'3", 6'4".
He was actually out there standing right next to us watching
Sammy Coates was.
Yeah,
Oh, why
it's
didn't you
under
just
like
ask him?
without his dreads. I mean, I'd
He
say
cut his hair.
6'3".
That's right. He cut his hair.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I'd say like 6'3".
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Sammy's about 6'3". Yeah,
I think Sammy just signed a deal with the XFL or something. He's
he?
going to play
6'1"
football.
according to Google.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, so I was way off. Not even close. Martner has got mad height, dude. Like he's out there. I mean, his size was notable when he passed by us. I was like, good God, who is that? Right. And I looked at the back of the jersey and said Nick Martner. So
Camden Brown is 6'3", according to this.
Yep. I think he's closer to 6'4". I think they understated him a little bit.
Yeah, probably.
But he's a tall kid as well too. We saw him out there looking impressive, catching passes. So I want to jump because there's not a lot to talk about in terms of what we saw. Like we saw it. It was They were out there. The players were out there. It was beautiful weather, by the way.
Beautiful day.
Oh man, it was great to be out there. The practice facility is impressive. It is a significant step up from what they were using before. And I've seen lots of that. So it was great to just be out there at the performance center, just watching some football. But after, there was a press conference and Hugh Freeze was asked a lot of questions. Among them, how are guys receiving feedback and how do you narrow down your competition during the spring? He responded, I have no plans of narrowing down anything. Everybody got the same reps today. We're not going to narrow anything down until the fall. So I want to ask this question. Is it the right message to send to the players that there's nothing you can do to win the job during the spring? And was he talking more about quarterbacks when he answered that question than any other position?
I don't think that's what he said, though. He said he wasn't going to narrow anybody's reps down, but that doesn't mean that you can't win the job. He's just saying, I'm going to evaluate everybody evenly and not.
He said that the races would go. He said that the races would go into the fall. He said, I don't think we're going to narrow anything down until the fall.
Well, I mean, again, that doesn't mean that there's nothing that you can do to win the job. But to your point, is that the right message to send? I think yes. That, hey, listen, these 15 practices, that's not going to be enough for me to evaluate you guys fairly. So we're just going to give you as many opportunities as you can during these 15 practices and go out there and compete like hell. But it echoes what I think B has been saying, and you've been saying for that matter, that post-spring, the competition is still on and likely somebody is going to still be brought in to continue to compete in this. We know Hank Brown's going to be coming in, but he's not going to be a factor in this.
Right.
Well, your Pate's there, but unless he goes out there and wows and then wins a scholarship, he's not going to be a factor in this.
Right.
So it likely means that they're going to be going to the portal to bring someone else in to compete. The question is, for me, with all of that, is that enough for the three guys that we have, really the two that have the option to stick around into the fall and say, hey, I'm not going to win this job this spring? Is the uncertainty going to keep me here?
Right.
I don't know.
Right. So that's kind of where I was going with this question about, the messages that's being sent here. Because we saw Demetrius Davis leave mid-spring practice. Right. He was like, I'm out. I'm clearly not going to win it. I don't think they like me. Coach Harsin didn't invite me to the barbecue. Right. So he's not invited to my cookout. And he went to ASU. Yeah. Now, if you had to make an estimation, Brian, right now, again, based on what we saw, we didn't see a lot, but if you were a betting man, which you are, who's not going to get invited to the cookout at the end of spring?
What? You define what the cookout is, please, and so I know what we talk about.
The cookout is the QB finalist, right?
The finalist, right?
The finalist, right? Yeah, it means if you didn't get invited to the cookout, you're transferring. So I'm asking you who's transferring. I'm just saying
who's transferring.
Who's not going to get invited to the cookout? Who's going to say? Because sometimes they say, "Hey, love you, but it's in your best interest to maybe seek other opportunities."
Right.
Right. Is there a chance that happens to Holden Garner this spring? Maybe.
The reason I don't think so, the only reason I don't think so is because Holden is more a stereotypical quarterback than not more than TJ. I guess TJ technically is the most stereotypical quarterback, but it's just that TJ has already shown a propensity to turn the ball over. And even though Hugh Freeze can be wiping the slate clean, I think there has to be some hesitation with TJ, not necessarily, all right, not necessarily with Hugh Freeze, but with the locker room. And how does that affect anything and everything else? I know Hugh Freeze mentioned several times, like, I wanted to recruit, and then we need to get the locker room right. I think he cares how close the players are, how much they're bonding, also the behavior and the attitude of these players. And I think the person who wins the job has to have that going for them. That has to be working for them. Like, all the other players have to be behind this guy. And not just because, oh, he's the quarterback, so that's the leader. Yeah, not really though. Not really though. And that's an old adage that I kind of hate seeing. Well, the quarterback has to be a leader. Well, you know what? More than half of the time he's not. He's just the guy with the ball in his hands a lot. So you want him to be a leader. But a lot of times he's not. Would you call Kyler Murray a leader? No. He's just the starting quarterback in Arizona. I don't think he's a leader. He's got an attitude problem.
In college, was he though?
And fought with the coach. Like, I'm talking about where he's at right now, which is some of the gripes about Kyler Murray. There have been plenty of places where guys go, I don't really like that guy. But in the NFL, they're getting paid, right? So they go, all right, whatever. I'm just going to shut up and play. In college, maybe not so much, but we may be seeing more of that, where in college now, if how famous my name is can determine what my NIL can be, I need you to throw me the ball and be accurate about it. So how I feel about the quarterback as a wide receiver definitely is going to impact. I want to say it's going to impact the choice, but I think the coach can see it. The coach can see, like, man, all right, he's missing these guys, and they're getting kind of upset about this. I don't think that anybody who has a propensity to sour his teammates on him or to miss opportunities that the coaches are giving them through game design and things like that is going to win the job. And there's only one guy who has done a little bit of both, and that's TJ Finley. And that's why I have doubts that TJ Finley will be primed to be the starter. Like, you can say it's wide open and just give guys reps, sure. But he's the only person who there has been question marks about him both on and off the field.
Right.
So that's why I say he's the most likely to be transferring after the spring.
It is March 2nd, 2023, the year of our Lord, 8:15 p.m. And that was an excellent point about the receivers and NIL and the link between, hey, man, I can't get my bag if you can't throw me the ball accurately. Right. How is this going to sour the relationships between some of these quarterbacks and their receivers? And how hard is it going to be to maintain a team attitude when essentially NIL, like, listen, no, Hugh Freeze talked about creating entitlement before guys have achieved anything with NIL. He said that. Would he say that in our interview, Ike?
No, he talked about it in the post game. I mean, in the presser for this after the practice.
Yes, he did. And he just, so this is something that's on his mind, which tells me to some extent he is experiencing maybe a little bit of that right now with some of these guys. I'm not saying who it is. I'm just telling you, from the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks. And, I have a hard time believing that he's bringing this up and he's not experiencing some diva syndrome coming from NIL with somebody on this team. So, when it comes down to it, I'm with you, B, on that one. I never looked at it from that perspective, but maybe there is a team dynamic that he's trying to head off. Sounds a lot like what Harsin was talking about when NIL came on the scene, does it not?
Yeah.
Right? I mean, it's almost the same thing. Now, the difference being, I feel like Auburn has what they're doing with NIL a lot more together now than what they did when Harsin was here. So there might be a more clear of a plan, but even to some extent, he said, man, listen, we're still figuring a lot of things out with how to manage this NIL thing. So, spring is moving forward. You've got to manage NIL deals or whatever, right? You've got to manage players. You've got to figure out more position races than a coach would probably want to in year one. He's got a brand new O-line. Ike, what do you think? What is the most important thing that Hugh Freeze has to accomplish this spring with this roster?
I think, the most important thing, that's a good question. I mean, the evaluation piece is going to be hard because they've got to evaluate a lot really quickly. 15 practices is not a lot to try to understand where people fit well within your scheme, which is why I think the new guys honestly, let's take quarterback and throw it aside because none of those guys are new. But like a lot of those new guys actually have better opportunities, in my opinion, to get starter reps because they were brought in by this staff with the thought process, you fit what I want to do.
Mm-hmm.
So it's going to be harder for a lot of the more incumbent people to make an impression, because if I evaluated your tape from last year and I evaluated this guy's tape from last year and I said he fits what I want to do, so let me bring him in, they're going to have the upper hand, in my opinion. So it's going to be, I think, for this to be successful for them, it's something that you talked about when asking Coach Freeze the question about quarterbacks. And he responded with, not cutting anybody reps. It's going to be the communication of what's the plan for me, because that's the only way you're going to keep these young men engaged, is they have a firm understanding of, hey, this is where I see you fitting into this grand scheme of things. We're going to try to get you in these types of scenarios. Or honestly, right now, you're not going to be a starter for us, but I need you to be ready because I believe in your talent. Whatever that communication is, and then let those young men make their decisions based upon that. But if they figured out how to accurately communicate to them and their parents what the plan is for that young man, then they've achieved something this fall or this spring going into the summer, because that honestly was a problem for the previous staff of people just understanding where do I stand in all of this.
Ike, summarize all that in an email and send it to Hugh Freeze, because you just answered the question that he didn't answer that part of my question. I said, hey man, talk to me about the feedback process and how these guys are going to get feedback in real time. He did a Texas two-step to the side on that one and went into something vaguely related, but this was a question we had for Harsin, and he did actually answer the question more directly about one-on-one meetings and how they find out. Now, in our interview B with Chris Todd, he talked about what it was like winning the starting job,
right?
And how they did it with maximum drama. Chiswick and Gus did when they told him he was the starting quarterback. And for those of you who hadn't heard this story, essentially, when they called them in one by one, but they were calling them in the order that they were taking reps in practice. So he was like, shit, I'm going third. There's no way. Like, if you won the job, you're either getting called in first or last. So they're breaking the news to everybody else, and then they're telling you won it, or they're telling you won it, and they're breaking the news to everybody else. So when he got told he was the starting quarterback at Auburn University, Angel sung, he was completely floored by that. And I just have a question about how is this coaching staff? We didn't really get a feel for this during the open session. I don't know if you did, B. You can answer this question if you did or didn't, but like about how they're going to teach. How are they going to teach and say, hey, come here, let me show you something. It feels like we saw Montgomery working with the quarterbacks at one point, and it was during the handoffs to the running backs, I think.
Yeah.
During that drill. But I have questions about how they're going to teach. Like, what is your feeling about how this staff is going to teach the players? Say, hey, that was great, but here's what we need you to do better. And, how are they going to get that feedback from the staff this spring?
Yeah, we didn't get any sense of how that's going to work based on what we saw. Hugh Freeze wasn't even out there, or at least he wasn't out there present on the part of the field. Not during the 20-minute view.
They said there were people that said they saw him. I didn't see him.
Yeah, I didn't see him. Yeah, but we were very focused on a very small part of the film, like a quarter of the open space. So, yeah, what I get the feeling of, and we got to tour. Ike and I got to tour the facility, so we saw this. And Mike, I'm pretty sure they could do a tour, but you need to see this part too. They have devices and apparatuses in there that let everywhere a player can go, they can be recorded. And that is, if you're doing drills, there's actually a machine that lets you, and they showed us this, you can stand inside the machine and go through your motion, and it will scan you. And it will tell you, all right, you're leaning too far this way. And then the coach can see that. And this allows the coaches to coach without actually spending hands-on time with the players. They can say, all right, here's what you're going to do. You got your workout plan for what you need to be maintaining after the spring, or how you need to be building after the spring. Now I need you to go in there, do this many reps of this. To go throw with some wide receivers. You and Marcus Davis is going to take some of the wide receivers, and y'all can go do that. Well, not Marcus Davis. He can't work with them after the spring either. But you can then organize, tell them to do some stuff, tell them to go to the machine. I want to see how your form has changed. If you're going to throw this many times in a week, then I think don't they get like a couple hours to talk to the players in the off season when it's not actually in season?
Yeah. They do have meetings. They do have meetings. Right. Yeah. They have meetings weekly.
So what this facility enables you to do is have the players work on things you tell them to do, see it later because it's all being recorded digitally and in video. And then when you finally get to meet with them, like, all right, I went through your 100 throws. All right, here's what I liked. Here's what I didn't like. Let's talk about this. And here's how you need to change this.
Coaching without coaching.
You can coach without coaching because you just can't be out there with them in pads and blowing the whistle and yelling at them anymore. Cool, but you can do it on your own. And this now measures how committed the players are to improving because you can say, yeah, I went in there and worked out. Yeah, but I would have saw you if you worked out. You ain't coming here. Where were you? All right, you were supposed to be
that's Cap. You were here.
Yeah, you can see everything, man. They got the workout machines, got video recording and metrics and your body temperature and all this. Listen, we know what you're doing. So
you're saying director of video surveillance is now a new position with Auburn football? I want that job.
Hey,
I can just sit around.
It's something. I don't know what it's called, but it's something. But
you're gonna be the feds to the players. You don't want that job.
You're gonna be the narc.
Nah, I don't want that
for real. But I know that now. And it's you made a good point, Mike. Like, all right, you figure the starter was going to be getting these one-on-one instructions with the QB coach and the OC at the very least, right? Because is it Kent Austin? Like, he's a QB guy, right?
Him and Philip Montgomery were out there together,
right?
You know, Hugh Freeze noted these guys are helping me be more of a CEO. Than so that was a note he made. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
And that's fantastic. But if you have a guy who's the guy, and I understand what you mean about like I'm worried because if there's no starter in the spring or out of the spring, then who's getting the focused attention? Because that's the guy who we need to be giving the most tutelage to. That's the guy who needs to be getting the most. All right, now let's run through some plays. I guess all of them need to do it, but eventually you got to settle in on a guy, and he's going to get an advantage of having more snaps with the starting running backs and the starting wide receivers and behind the starting O-line, and that guy is gonna get an advantage once that starts, but until then, how are you divvying that up? So there it's a good question. It's a good question. I don't think they have to tell us. They just have to pick the right guy. Like that is their job is between now and the first game of the season. Whoever you do end up giving all those priority snaps to and attention to, make sure it's the right guy. That's what they got to do.
I'm so intrigued by this quarterback race because I think a lot of people assumed Robbie Ashford was the prototypical quarterback for a Hugh Freeze system, which I think that's not a bad assumption. But he has mentioned TJ Finley's name at every turn. TJ Finley is here. He's practicing. He's out there. Ike, talk TJ Finley to me right now and how he factors into this quarterback race.
I've been trying to warn people that this was a possibility for weeks, man. I don't know why people assume that I would get on here and say that if I didn't actually think that it was a possibility. TJ Finley will have a shot at this job because of a lot of the stuff that he's just this is going to sound like I'm bagging on TJ. I probably shouldn't even say it because somebody's going to take it the wrong way, but I'm going to say it anyway because it makes a lot of sense. TJ Finley is a teacher's pet. He is the guy that's in the classroom and he's going to be raising his hand because he knows the answer and he's going to volunteer. Hey, I got it, coach. He's going to be the guy that's out there doing all of the stuff that the coaches want to see. He's the politician. He's going to say the stuff. He's going to look the part. He's going to get everybody together and he's going to know and he's a smart kid. He understands how to, this system is very similar to what he learned when he came in as a freshman at LSU. So it's not something that he's unfamiliar with. He's not learning from scratch like some of the other folks are. So he has a little bit of a head start in the rudiments of what the system is supposed to be as far as the number system and the route tree, right? He's got a freaking amazing arm. He can throw every route that you can imagine out there on the field. So he's going to look great in practice and he's going to look the part in the freaking press conference and he's going to look the part in the huddle. He's going to show up looking like a starting quarterback. All right. And if you only have 15 practices to evaluate this, he's going to shine in those 15 practices. The question is going to be when the scrimmages start. The question is going to be when game time happens.
Right.
Who's going to show up to that game? So far, the guy that's in practice killing it has not been the guy that's been showing up in the games.
Right.
And the question for this staff is going to be, how do I evaluate whether or not we've got a practice warrior or a game time superhero?
Right.
TJ has not been a game time superhero except for one time that I've seen.
Yeah.
In an Auburn uniform.
Right.
And that was in rescue duty against Georgia State.
Yeah.
Outside of that, he's been good and then he's been terrible, right? Like there's very little in between in what you've seen as far as performance from TJ Finley. It's been, wow, that's a great throw. Wow, that's a good read. Oh my goodness, that's amazing right there. He got everybody where they were supposed to be. And then it was like, what?
Yeah.
Are you for real? What was that?
Ike, let's stick right here for a second, and then B, I want you to chime in on this too. But Ike, I want you to complete this thought. Right, Hugh Freeze has been put on record as saying that it's really hard to evaluate some of these quarterbacks' tapes when they're running for their life, and the O-line is not very good. How much of a reprieve does that give the coaches when they're asking themselves how much of this practice guy translates to the game on Saturday?
I think it's going to give a little bit of a reprieve, which is why I think he's got an opportunity to win the job, because they're saying to themselves, well, yeah, of course, Robbie looked better for this offense because nobody's getting blocked for. So you have to have the athletic guy out there. We get a better offensive line. Now it's not about who can scramble out of pressure the best. It's about who can make the best decisions with the football. Right. Or is Robbie scrambling so much a symptom of poor offensive line play, or can he stand in this pocket and make the decisions? I don't know the answer to that. Great. Everybody's got a clean slate. But with everybody having a clean slate, the guy who shows up early and the guy who looks polished and the guy who's got the amazing arm is going to have the upper hand initially. Right. But when them scrimmages start, it's going to look different. And when the picks start coming up, listen, I'll take a guy who has a lower completion percentage over a guy who's going to throw it to the other team.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, that's fair.
Yeah.
Right. That's
we
very good.
Live for another down with an incomplete pass.
Right.
That's fact. That's fact. So B, sticking with this topic, talking about the guy who will essentially protect the football during the game. Make your mistakes, but make good mistakes. You know what I mean? If you ever watch golf, they'll be like, that was a good miss, right? He missed it, but it was a good miss, right? A quarterback with good misses. Right. How hard is it going to be, though, if you are not that guy in practice with the good makes? And let's just talk start of the season scenarios. How entrenched do you think Hugh Freeze's starter is going to be? And how soon will he pull the plug if it's not going the way he thinks it should be going?
It's a good question, because my only recollection of Hugh Freeze was the 2 years of Bo Wallace, the 2 years of Chad Kelly. And that's it. And I don't think either one of those years, I don't know what he did before. I don't know when he started at Ole Miss. I don't know if he was there after 2016. I think the 2016 offseason was when all of the drama started and things got rough for him. But I don't remember him pulling guys to play other guys. And Bo Wallace wasn't great when he first got there, but it was Ole Miss and they were bad. So I don't know that he had better options than Bo Wallace either. So here, it really comes down to how good is any option that's on our bench. And if we're in a situation where the options are all kind of neck and neck, different strengths, different weaknesses, but we expect the production or the win total to be the same no matter who we put out there, then maybe he spits it. We kind of we rightfully gave Gus hell for all four of those QBs in 2016. And then we gave Harsin hell for switching out quarterbacks. Well, not we necessarily, but I don't think either time was an issue with, well, I just want to see what this one could do. No, the problem is no one is actually just good enough to be the guy. So I got to do a little bit of something with each one of these people. Right. That's it. That's what it comes down to. Now, if we're in that situation, we might see multiple guys because you have your doubts. You can say, all right, I'm going to put you out there, and this is what I want you to do. If you do anything different, you're gonna come sit down because you're gonna don't do something I told you not to do. Because I don't believe that it's going to get better if I leave you in there. Now, we talked about that with Bo, right? When we were like, hey, man, just pull him because it's a bad game, whether it was Texas A&M or Georgia State. When he got sacked, when he didn't. Yeah, it's like, and B. Will is a firm believer. Hey, man, you ain't got it. Come on. $100 million pitcher can get pulled in the third inning. He will be back out there in 5 days. But today, you sitting down, son. And that's okay. Now, what does Hugh Freeze think? Does he really get close enough with one player where he feels like, no, I think you get it. And even if it's a little rough, I'm going to ride with you. What does it take for him to get there? I don't think it's just about what he shows on the field. I think it's about, and he's mentioned it a lot, locker room, off the field. What's your attitude? What's your presence like? Because that lets the coaches put trust in you. If, number one, you're going to do what I ask you to do on the field, even if it's, take a little change and don't go for that dollar over the top because you're going to turn the ball over. So you know what? Just be safe with the ball. Like, I think, doesn't any coach love a player who just, just take a little bit, don't do too much, don't get shaky, trust your coverage, do what I tell you to do. So even if we don't, we're not going for touchdowns every drive, we're not turning the ball over, we're not having a bunch of negative plays, I can live with you because I can trust you. And you go for that guy over the guy who's all the potential, but he's also all the risk. I think there has to be on the field trust, but there also has to be off the field trust. And again, I'm alluded to that with what happens with TJ Finley. We have to see some maturity. And he has actually said that that room has to grow up a lot, which is another reason I believe he's going to get somebody else. Like, he seems to be like, yeah, this is who I got. We'll see. He seems very non-committal. Okay. And to me, that says anybody can get benched, anybody can get a few reps, but he's going to go get guys who are his guys, and not one soul in that room right now is his guy.
Well, hey, listen, I do agree that these aren't his guys. Let's go to the comments here and see what you guys are saying in the chat. Oda Smith with the super chat. Thank you for this. Look, you blow a 17-point lead. It's awful. Now on to football, where, mark my words, we will compete for the West War Damn Eagle. Hey, we know a guy who you'll get along with this attitude about football. We do.
No, he didn't go national championship. Not he
didn't go far enough.
Right. He said
undefeated and national championship. Imani is you're getting there.
Okay. All right. Listen, this is
a little
the
more
Oda
sunshine.
Smith,
You'll be there.
TBE, I strongly dislike Gumps. I think something we can all agree with. Just love that. And then he comes back to correct it. But also, I love the format Freeze wants for a day. Best 11 on 11 gets it. Enough of this ones on twos BS. Yes, I have never agreed more with any statement, baby. Ones on ones. If you want to see what your team's got, you put best against best. None of this ones versus the threes stuff that we've been seeing.
I like the disgust that he had for the idea. He was like, yeah, everybody gets out there and they feel real good because you put up a bunch of points. But what does that tell you?
What does that tell you? Right.
He's like, that's stupid to me.
It's
and
stupid.
I was like, yes, coach.
Yes, we've been saying that on the War Report for years. Right? Since the days of Gus, we've been saying this is dumb. You don't know what you have. This is why we flop against good teams.
Yeah.
They don't play anybody good until they get on the field on Saturday. So, Oda, we agree with this. Definitely want to see this happen. Ones versus ones. He said, our current wide receiver room reminds me of a classic SoCal wide receiver room, and I love it.
Okay.
That's high praise.
It is. They have some good wide receiver rooms in those classic days of Southern California. So,
really love seeing my guy Dustin Smith in here. Can we expect Aniche Sledge to get some run this year? Good stuff with Zacoby, guys. If you haven't seen our Zacoby McClain interview, it debuted today. Go watch it. We had a lot of fun with him, myself, Ike Jones. But Aniche Sledge, thoughts on this? Quick thoughts on this, guys.
Listen, from the physical makeup, the young man's a beast. And I would like to see that beast unleashed on SEC offensive lines for the next couple of years. So I do hope that he gets an opportunity. That's a tough room, though, man. Like, you look at the guys that they brought in between Justin Roberts and Lawrence Jackson and Naseel Kite. And, you still got Jeffrey Emba there. You still got Marcus Harris there. You still got Jason Jones there. Like, that's a tough room to get reps in. But if they're rotating properly, listen, he's already burned his red shirt. Let him go out there and bust some heads, man.
Right. For sure. 100% agree with that. More super chats here. The super chats are rolling in today. I feel our defense this
Mostly
year.
from Cody, but thank you, Cody.
Hey, listen, we're all about it. I feel our defense this year will remind us of the 07-08 defense. Just nasty, hard hitting, in your face. I dare you to do something about. Who was on that? Was Patrick Lee on that 07 defense? Was that like Pat Lee and those guys?
That was
07
was that Quentin Groves? Or was he in 05?
No, Q was gone.
Okay.
But I feel like this was Pat Lee and those cats. This was one of those was a Will Muschamp defense, wasn't it?
What did Will Muschamp lead?
He was in. I don't. If you ask me to remember years, I don't remember nothing about what.
I don't
year,
remember.
Happened except for when we won stuff.
Yeah,
I landmark everything by when we won. Outside of that,
I think Will Muschamp
Groves was definitely there in 07, says Corey. So
in 07 he was? Okay.
All
right. Fair enough. But I think Muschamp was there as a D coordinator one of those years. Chat, correct me if I'm wrong. If I buy them dinner, they owe me 2 Ole Miss tickets.
That was somebody said he's super chatted so much he could buy his dinner.
Okay, fair enough.
Appreciate it, Older.
Get to the super chats. LOL on $40. We're getting to all of them now. This is your show right now.
All
so,
right, yeah, this is
the
Cody Smith show at this point in time.
For sure. Call me crazy or call me drunk, but drunk men tell no lies. Our Tigers will be in the convo for West champs. And then he finishes off with Robbie is our guy. So like, I think he's a guy. I don't know if he's Freeze's guy. And that's what we're going
to have the opportunity to figure it out.
Figure it out, right? Yeah. And so I don't think anybody knows. I don't think anybody is Freeze's guy right now, to Brian's point.
Yeah.
John Brandon says, I haven't been that upset about an AU basketball game since the Virginia game, not saying last night was worse than the Virginia game.
I wasn't even upset, man. I'm going to be like, we're going to talk about this game. I wasn't even upset. And I'll tell you why when we get into the segment talking about the game.
Anthony Grant says, did we talk about Bruce going bananas last night after the game? We will. Not yet, but we will get into that. Guys, you are watching the Mid-Week Rapport. If you haven't done so already, share our video using hashtag Get Your Weight Up and @the War Rapport. Click like and subscribe on our YouTube channel. We just hit 10,000 subs and we're looking for the next 10,000 already. We've got to get there, guys. We got to continue to grow. As Jazzy likes to say, ride for the brand. Well, sub for the brand and tell somebody. So sub for the brand. And let's hit this mid-roll sponsor. And then Ike's got some announcements for you guys.
This edition of the War Rapport is made possible by our generous sponsors. AuburnSports.com. For news and notes on all things Auburn Sports, head over to AuburnSports.com. Athletic Architects. For young athletes looking to secure their financial future, let Athletic Architects help you to build your financial house. Head over to BuildAHouse.com. And our giveaway sponsor, War Eagle Oil. War Eagle Oil is your #1 place for all of your motor oil and related products. For more information, visit wareagleoil.com.
We appreciate the sponsors of the War Rapport, and we appreciate those of you who continue to rock with us on this membership content, man. I got so much more film. I got a lot of film that I need to get out to you guys, man. And I want suggestions of the kind of film that you want to see because, I can't just pull every piece of film that ever existed. But if you say, hey, I want to see this sort of thing, can you explain this? Can you go through this kind of thing? I can go try to see if I can find the film on it. It makes it easier if I have some definitive targets. Otherwise, you're just going to get whatever I decide to give you guys. But hey, I want to get the feedback from the member community. So you guys let me know if there's something you want in particular. But you got to get to that patron level in order to see that stuff on the review and that watch the film playlist that we have available for you guys. So make sure you go ahead and make that decision today. You will not regret it because it's going to be amazing. You can gift memberships if you are a member to someone else. So $5.99 per month times however many times you want or however many people you want. Go ahead and make that decision and get us some new members in here, and they will enjoy what they get for that first month and never leave. You're trapped once you get in here. I'm sorry. You can get a War Rapport mug by hashtagging Get Your Weight Up in the comments. Now, we're not going to give it to everyone who does the hashtag, but we will do a drawing, and one lucky person will be able to go and drink from the cup of greatness and be able to have a War Rapport mug that you can show off to all of your friends and say, hey, I'm a proud supporter of the greatest online community that ever existed. And we appreciate all of you who do that. As far as audio is concerned, we have the best podcast as well. It's just a thing, right? If you want Auburn podcasts, then you're going to listen to the Auburn Express powered by the War Rapport, and it's going to be the most amazing podcast that you've ever listened to. That is no disrespect to any of the other podcasts that are out there. They're just not as good, so I can't help it. So yeah, you can listen to us pretty much every day and just ride around and feel amazing because you're listening to a great podcast. So go ahead and do that. Auburn Express powered by the War Rapport.
Yeah, guys. Second segment. There was a basketball game last night.
Oh,
Auburn. Yep. You were there at Coleman Coliseum. And Auburn lost in overtime to Bama 90-85. I had a feeling once it went to overtime, I was like, this is it. Now I'm going to win in overtime. The guys were fouling out. Auburn had 4 players foul out of this game. Bruce went bananas on the nuts. Bananas on the nuts.
Pause.
Banana
pause.
on the refs after. And it was classic 2022-2023 Auburn here. I don't really have a question. I just want you guys to open up your thoughts about what we saw. Ike, you were there, so I'm going to start with you. Man, the feeling they were chanting F Auburn in this thing, and then they lost
2 hours before the game. Just anytime players would come out on the court, they would just break out into this FU Auburn chant. Just wild. It was a very, I knew it was going to get to that Javon Quinterly level of no matter how this game went, right? Like if Auburn had continued to spank Bama through the second half, it was going to get heated out there because they were just in that kind of space mentally from way before the game started. If it had been a close game throughout, it was going to get into that. If it had been a blowout for Bama, it was inevitable that building was going to tip into some sort of something. Like it just was going to happen at some point in time in that game, just the way that the building was. Speaking of the building, y'all know I got to critique every building that I walk into. They have the dumbest placement of their student section ever in the world. It's like off in a corner somewhere. I hated it. I was just like, and so they give them these hard hats, right? Mm-hmm. So they're all in these plastic hard hats, and then they have the shakers with the plastic thing on them, that the pom-pom situation, and they're using the thing to bang on their own heads, which probably, when you don't have a lot to protect underneath there, it might have damaged and rattled some stuff around for some of these folks. But, hey, it is what it is. The 2 brain cells you have, go ahead and scramble those and do whatever you want to with it. But anyway, the building itself, not as terrible as Vanderbilt, nowhere on the level of Tennessee or Kentucky. But where they had us sitting was goofy and awkward too, because we're like the way that the seating is, like we're actually facing a section of stands right here. Okay. And so like we're having to watch the game from like an angle, and then people kept standing up so you couldn't actually see the game from where we were. It was stupid. I hate it. And it is that for as much as they try to make fun of Neville Arena, whoever planned, I see why you guys have been lobbying so hard to get a new building, because whoever planned this was an idiot. It was dumb. Again, not Vanderbilt dumb, but still dumb. Outside of that, the game itself, again, I wasn't upset because you can't hurt me anymore. You can't hurt me anymore with losing leads. You can't hurt me anymore with not being able to close games. I've seen it, and I knew it was coming. I messaged you guys at the half, and I was like, Bama came back out from the halftime. They didn't do any drills. All they did was shoot threes. Literally the entire team stood around the 3-point line shooting threes the entire time when they came out. I was like, they're just gonna shoot their way back into this game. They're gonna come out in the second half determined to just shoot as many threes as possible until they get back in this game. And The first 3 shots Bama put up in the second half were all 3-pointers. I was like, see, I knew this was about to happen.
Right.
I wasn't shocked. I wasn't shocked by it because they had a bunch of open threes in the first half that they missed. They were just like, oh, they'll go in. Just keep shooting them.
Mm-hmm.
They did. They just kept shooting.
Yeah.
Now, other than him being a complete bonehead and a jerk, Javon Quinterly actually played a really good game for Bama. He was kind of the reason they got back into that game.
Oh, 100%, because they did a great job defending Brandon Miller for most of the game. Before, B, we get to you, I just want to get to our guy because he's going nuts with the super chats right now. Till this day, VA double dribbled. I think we have a shirt essentially that immortalizes this statement. So maybe hit that merch store. Let's just talk football. He doesn't like this topic at all. Haley, we were up 17 and just blew it. Like, wow. I think that was the feeling because to me, it was just like they're going to have to go up big in this game. And then they're going to have to hold off runs because you knew the runs. I tweeted it out. There's 2 more runs coming in this game.
Yeah,
they staved off
runs.
They staved off the opening run in the first half and went back up double digits. But you knew it was coming. And we'll talk about, what may have been working against them in those runs, here in a second. Hold us on, man. $65. I want 2 Ole Miss tickets. LOL. JK, love you guys. We love you too, man. Thanks for watching. B, let's talk about what you saw, man. Like this was tough, right? This was tough to watch. Another close. I also tweeted this around like, hey, this team has to learn how to close at some point, right? Like, what a great game to learn how to close on the road against your rival who's ranked number 2 in the nation and to solidify a spot in the NCAA tournament. They blew it. So talk to us about your feelings on this one. What stood out to you? Why you're going to watch Saturday.
Ike said he wasn't supremely disappointed because they can't hurt him anymore. I thought I had let them go. But
I haven't let them go. I just listen when you know what you're dealing with, you just like, oh, all right.
But I mean, we all know what this team is, but I'm not gonna lie, man. Once they were up double digits under 8, I was like, oh man, we can.
If it had been under 5, I might have been with you.
So I mean, realistically though, with how that team can shoot, there wasn't a lead that was less than 15 that would have been safe necessarily. Under maybe up 15, 4 minutes left. I'm like, okay, we are good because just the number of seconds that we can draw off in a possession and go for some fouls and really try to draw some foul contact and get to the line, we can do it. But so there's some things as I'm going to give you the sports better perspective here. All right. If I'm looking at a team who is good, I am going to bet the better team most of the time. All right. In record and again in eye test, Alabama's the better team. We don't have to deny them that. They have been the better team this year, or else they would have won the regular season SEC championship in a season that's not 2020, which did not count across any sports for the record. Okay. When we were up double digits, there are 3 metrics I use because at halftime you can bet a halftime line what's going to happen in the second half.
Mm-hmm.
It has something to do with what was the original line. Bama was favored to win this game by 10. Okay. If I see that Auburn is up 11 at half, then you can go to the second half line and say, what does that say? It says Bama's going to win the second half by 8 points. And that includes overtime. Okay. So what they're saying is, okay, the common understanding is that Bama's not going to cover, but we still think they'll come back to win. Whether or not I would make that bet for Auburn at Alabama in this year or any team who the better team is at home, but they're down is, okay, what did the visiting team that is not the better team do in the first half to get up so much? Usually it's about 3 things. Number 1, they defended like crazy, so they got their fouls up. That is very, very common. They came in there with a game plan on how to bother the other team's best player, on how to really get under their skin. But because the good team is at home, the good team is going to get the whistles. So if you look at that ledger and you see, all right, Auburn's up 11, but they've got 3 more fouls and they shot 75% from the floor and from 3, that's not going to hold up. That's not going to hold up. What's our average for the year is like, what, 32% or something from three? It's low 30s.
Yeah.
To say that Auburn blows them out in the second half or maintains that lead means, can we continue to shoot 75% from three? No, we can't do that. That's not possible in major college basketball against great teams. You can have a great half, but you are who you are for a reason. We are almost, what 30 games into the season? Listen, man, this is what we are. This is what we are. We are a 30-something% shooting team, and we are not going to shoot 75% for two halves or over an entire game. So that was one thing. It's like, okay, I think they can come there. Alabama's probably going to make this comeback. Number two was we had more fouls than them. Eventually, those whistles are going to catch up with you because your players are just going to have too many fouls on them to be able to stay on the floor.
They were in the bonus like with 12 minutes left in the first half, weren't they?
Right.
In the second half, I'm sorry.
Right. Now, what I would tell you is that if the good team, who is the home team, has numbers similar to their season average, let's say somebody shoots 40% from three for the season, right? And Alabama was like, okay, well, they're down 11. What do they shoot? Oh, they shot 43 from three. I don't know. That's what they shoot. They did what they always do, and they're still down, which means they're playing their game and they're down. That's a bad sign for the home team. But in this case, they had shot very poorly from three, which means they get a chance to go into the locker room, come out all rah-rah, like Ike said, doing nothing but yanking threes. And they were going to try their best to do what they do best. That's their identity. They're going to shoot their way back into this game. And now they're going to get the shots to balance out the percentages so they end up around their usual percentage. And we're going to miss the shots that get us to our season average. So that's some betting stuff. And I say all that to say, yes, we had a halftime lead, but I also believed, okay, we're not going to keep this lead. We're not going to blow them out. But what I did think was with how well we were defending them, we really had a chance to win this game. I mean, whatever they wanted to run, we were on it. Like there was nothing like that's coaching to me. It's not just because the game was close. It was, why was that game close? Yes, we were hitting some shots and guys were hitting shots that don't usually hit shots. I thought Alec Flanagan played well. Alec Flanagan hit shots and got rebounds and
he was bullish.
He was doing his thing.
It was one of the best games he's played all season, honestly.
Yeah.
The best games he played all season. So we got something from him we didn't usually get. But the thing that lets me know this team has never quit on Bruce Pearl, and Bruce Pearl is still coaching his tail off, was we were in their shirts. We knew what action they wanted to run. We were stopping it. I think it probably messes with the heads of a good team who's used to getting what they want most of the time. It's like, oh, well, they gonna stop that and that. Well, I don't know. Well, here, give it to our number one dude. Let him make something. Yeah, but he wasn't really available. Had him hemmed up. He was hemmed up. 41 points in South Carolina, not much against Auburn. He was hemmed up. So yeah, Quinley came in and saved the day.
Okay,
Rah Quinley. I think you in your sixth year as a 5-star player, you should have a good game or two eventually. I guess he finally had one. So there you go.
Law of averages.
Yeah, law of averages eventually. I guess that rating's gonna be good for something. So he's really emotional. Watching the Janai Broome, that last foul they gave him, which was absolute BS. I don't want to talk about refs right here because refs are what they are. And I expect that from refs. And I also expect this from whenever there's a favorite team that stands to do well on the national stage. 10-4 Hat B Will says, that was something going on right there. But that's 10-4 Hat B Will. That's not the War Report. That's 10-4 Hat B Will.
Hey,
I absolutely
I ain't gonna lie. Them refs got out. But they left that court so fast.
So fast.
Bro, it was like KD dribbled the ball up, took that last shot. They blew the whistle and they were out. Like they left the court. So they were out of there, fam. They was like, I got a flight to catch. This went into overtime. I'm out of here.
Yeah.
Them refs was gone, family.
Yeah. So I'm always gonna believe that though, because I don't know, 1 + 1 = 2. If Bama being a 1 seed does a lot for the SEC and what you think their path can be, if they can get another couple games in the tournament and keep tossing that money back to the conference, and absolutely the SEC is going to give them a hand. I believe that? A little bit, just a little bit, but that's me. That's me. But overall, I don't think there's much I can say negative about this game and this team, because that was the game I thought that's what you have to do. Am I mad that we didn't get some calls? Sure. Am I mad that we missed some things or we had some bonehead decisions on plays and the shot selection late wasn't great? But what have we been saying all year about Wendell with the ball in his hands late and shot selection?
Man.
I mean, this is who we are and this is what we are. Wendell did some great things late to keep us in that game when they were pushing. That game was tied because of what Wendell and Allen were able to do.
And it's still 2 for 10.
Yeah, like the shooting wasn't enough. So I think the only thing I had a real question about was down the stretch, Trey Donaldson played so well early. Why did he not get some of those minutes from Wendell as a bigger, more physical point guard who you saw handle the moment very well in the first half when he was on the floor? He was making shots. He was getting the ball to the right guys. They couldn't take him off his spot. He's too heavy. He's solid. Like, they can't push him around. And I thought that we really could have used some of that, because I still think that's the biggest detriment to Wendell is if Wendell is 3 inches taller and 15 pounds heavier, then I don't know. He might not even have came to Auburn. He might be in the league already, really, because that's the type of player he is. But you saw Trey be effective. Physically, they weren't able to bully Trey like they were able to bully Wendell. I thought they should have had Trey in that game a long time before overtime. But that's the only thing I would second guess. But Bruce was right. We got hosed. And it wasn't just a broom call. It was calls all across the game where we got hosed. But that's what college refs do. And when you have the ball, last possession, it's tie game, I don't think you can ask for a better situation than that. We got it. On the road, your rival, stop them from winning the league. Balls in your hands. Go win it for us. We could not do it.
Yeah, I have some questions. I want to get to a couple super chats first. In my opinion, we have no leader on this team. We have no Smith, no Walker. It's tough last year. We closed these games out. Hard to argue, especially without Walker Kessler. Without Walker Kessler, the most important player to get out, to not let you get in there and rebound, get important rebounds, be able to play inside out. Like, Auburn just didn't have that in this game. So I'm not sure about leaders, like Ike is saying, but I mean,
and we didn't close out games well last year. We just
we still did.
We're essentially the same team we were last year, minus better interior defense and a better wing defender.
Still didn't have
Jabari Smith is a good wing defender. Like, it's the same team. Like, they're like, I know we had more wins last year. This is the same team. Like, I think we're romanticizing last year a little bit because we won more games during the regular season.
Yeah, it's hard not to in a season where you were ranked number 1 overall at one point, right? Like, So
we're made up the exact same way as we were last year. We lost some stuff in some places that brought us back to but it's the same problems we had last year.
Ben Bloodworth says, can we talk about Cardwell airballing free throws?
It's not the first time.
Yeah, in clutch moments. Ben Cardwell doesn't get mentioned. I mean, it was tough to watch. A few more super chats here. Kelsey Gardner, you guys still talking football? Free said the most important attribute for his QB at Auburn, at the Auburn level, is accuracy. So I think that's important everywhere you go. Haley, my therapist, said I should probably stop watching Auburn basketball. Therapist sounds like a smart person. Corey Weber, dittos. Probably healthier, Haley. Brad Browning coming in. 2 fouls on Janai Broome severely impacted the game. I'm not saying AU didn't blow it, but it defies logic to think that the refs did not impact.
Yeah, you know what? To that point, right? So you'll see a lot of people pointing out the foul calls, the missed ones, the most egregious one, but also others, and saying, hey, this is really bad. So whenever somebody brings up, hey, why don't you keep crying? Like, you blew a 17-point lead. I want you to understand that if you make a call on my guy that he fouled somebody and he didn't, you take a good guy off the floor or you give the other team the ball when they shouldn't have it. It's really hard for me to keep the possession and score if possessions are being taken away from me when they don't deserve them. Or you're adding to their lead by giving them foul shots that they didn't earn.
Right.
Like this. These are hand in hand. It's not, you didn't blow a 17-point lead, but the refs did something. It's because the refs did something that lead was diminished at the rate that it was, as fast as it was. All this stuff is related, man. Basketball calls and football calls. Listen, the refs, they shouldn't affect the game so much, but they do. They absolutely do.
Yeah. John Brandon takes me into my point. Love Bruce to death, but these final shot possessions that look like there is no plan must go. Guys, one of the things that
Here's a plan. Not a very good one, but it's a plan.
I'm actually Blake Robinson. I'm gonna get to his super chat here before we do this. I just gotta say, I think Oates and Quinterly are punk beaches for Bama. Also, much love as always to you, gentlemen. War Damn Eagle. War Damn Eagle to you, Blake. Guys, I think it's time to have a conversation about Wendell Green with the ball in his hands at the end of the game.
It's not a good decision because he starts.
Thank you for saying it for me. Yeah.
Well, I mean, here's the thing. The problem with Wendell late game is, I think I was talking to Memes about this a little bit. He doesn't trust his teammates enough. He feels like he's got to take the shot. He has supreme confidence in himself, but he doesn't trust other people to be able to do that. And if he does, he doesn't display that trust late game almost ever, because he almost never passes the ball in that situation. Nobody else is given the opportunity. That, for me, and I've said this over and over again this season, that's a KD Johnson shot. You live and die with whatever shot KD manufactures, because he's going to get off a more quality shot in that scenario.
Right, especially after how he played in that game. Like his production was up, his confidence was up. He had the mug going to crazy. Like if it was a night where KD had missed like 12 shots, all right, okay, I get it. So maybe we don't go to KD. But that night,
am I crazy for wanting to see them run something for Trey Donaldson there?
Trey's not. I mean, he was having a good game, but second half he wasn't looking like the same offensive. Trey's not an offensive threat like that.
I mean, they're not playing him like that, but like
I just don't. I mean, when does he display the ability consistently to do? Again, he did well in the first half. He come back in the second half. He's not shooting as well. I just don't know that Trey Donaldson's ready for that moment yet. But to your point, is it worse than what you're getting from Wendell? I don't know that you can say that. But
he doesn't look scared of the moment. I'll tell you that much.
No, he doesn't. He doesn't.
Now Wendell doesn't look scared of the moment. But
in that scenario for last night, you got to put the ball in the hands of one or two guys, in my opinion. It's either going to be in KD's hands or it's going to be in Alan Flanagan's hands. Yeah. Because both of those guys were taking and making big shots the entire night.
They were.
Yeah.
They were.
And Flanagan, you know he's going to get the shot off, because who's blocking that? Like Brandon Miller contest. Oh my God, Flanagan got hit on his arm so often during him trying to shoot shots that ended up as air balls. It was ridiculous. But he can get that shot off against anybody, and it's tied, right? So it's not as if you need a three. You can get Flanagan going downhill and elevating over the top of somebody, and you live and die with what you get there.
Right.
It's not even that Wendell got off a bad shot, contested shot. He actually got off a really clean look. He just hadn't hit much the entire night.
Right.
His only two buckets, I think, like he had one three. And then he had another layup or really close. Like that's it. So like in that scenario, you got to go to the guy, feed the hot hand. Like that is anybody who went and hooped on any basketball court in the world knows you feed the hot hand. And the guys who got you there and were making shots the entire night were available on the floor. You got to get him the ball. And that is incumbent on your point guard to do that. And that's something that I know he knows, but for whatever reason in late game scenarios, which is why you got to put this on Bruce to say, you know, we're going to run something and we're going to get the ball to this guy. But you hope your second year starting point guard knows that in the moment, but he didn't.
Yeah.
He cleared everybody out. And I mean, listen, Bruce called for whatever play it was. And Wendell was like, all right, cool. We're going to do this. Everybody get out of the way. But in that scenario, I think you have to stop going to Wendell on the pick and roll. You've got to get the ball to one of the two guys who've been creating shots for themselves in those scenarios all night.
Yeah, for sure. Want to get to a couple more chats here. I want to thank Scandalous Misconduct for becoming a member.
Ooh, scandalous.
Yes. Corey says the fam just got more scandalous. Corey always coming through.
Get there, sir.
Stephen Whipple, we own Bama this year, and if we had the guy, it would have been a sweep. I love this team. It's unfortunate how the year has turned out, but we can't have a great year every year. I agree.
Well said.
I agree. Quinn threw the ball at Broom, should have been ejected. I think he played it off like he was trying to bounce the ball off of Broom.
Yeah.
I don't know that you can eject him for that.
Yeah,
he probably should have gotten he got a technical for what happened with him and Wendell.
Yeah,
but I still in no universe is that a foul. Like I saw some people being like, "Oh, Janai was trying to grab him when he was no, he wasn't. He's trying to grab the ball, idiots." Like, listen, sports fandom at some point in time, you have to be able to. I'm not going to take Twitter because people are idiots on Twitter on purpose, and I'm getting a bunch of idiots in my mentions on Twitter all the time trying to say some stupid stuff, and it's just like your objectivity at some point in time needs to kick in. Some people aren't capable of that. I get it. I can get on here and I can say, you know what, though, there were some terrible calls that went against Auburn. Auburn got some calls that there was a couple of like. Berman 100% pushed off one time in the middle of the lane on a dude. Like it was, they should have been a foul on him. They didn't call anything on that play. There's a couple of times where Jay Will hit some people, probably should have been fouls on him. He ended up fouling out. All things balance out in that scenario. But I can be objective as a fan and say there are reasons why we lost this game that have nothing to do with the refs. Objectivity, it's a novel concept. I get that.
Yeah.
To look at that play objectively, regardless of who you are a fan of, and say, yeah, that definitely was a foul on Janai Broom. You are out of your effing mind.
Right.
You're stupid, and I want you to somehow regain your sanity and stop being a freaking idiot.
Well, April Danielle says, please explain to me the Broom foul in layman's terms.
The Broom foul in layman's terms is referees went to a replay and had already called a foul, and they can't uncall a foul. They can't say, oh, actually wasn't a foul. If they had never called a foul and they had just called it out of bounds, no problem. But they can't uncall it. So they had already ruled it as a foul. Stupid play to begin with, right? So, but they can't undo it. They can't be like, oh, just kidding. He didn't foul anybody. Right. So they made the wrong decision on the spot that they can't undo with a replay. Right. So everything that they were going to the monitor to see was about technicals. It had nothing to do with anything else other than technical assessments and then eventually kicking guys out, which is why it took so long, because they were trying to determine which of these guys violated the rules of entering play. The initial call was a bad call that could not be reversed. That's the problem with this entire scenario. But anybody looking at that replay and says the refs made the right call, you're not being objective. I'm sorry. There's no way to be a fan of sports and have any level of, I can't respect your opinion on sports anymore if you look at that and say that's a foul. Like now, you're just an idiot. And great. We don't have to have sports conversations anymore. You're an idiot. Gotcha. Cool.
Yeah. Ike Jones has no respect for you if that is your position. YouTube burner account says the muffed punt all over again. Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just so much pain in these comments right now.
This actually, I said this to memes too. This felt like the Iron Bowl 2 years ago.
It really did.
Led almost the entire time, and then it goes to overtime and we lose. It felt just like that to me.
Yeah. Our guy Woolby says, hashtag get your weight up. If this was your entry into the drawing, you might want to get your spelling up because there's an H where a W should be.
Get your height up is what he's trying to say.
Oh, is that what he's saying?
Yeah.
I'm a dummy.
He's talking about Wendell.
Oh, okay, got it. Okay, I was like, wait, what? don't think this counts. And then Oda, to finish this out before we do the drawing, says, you blow a 17-point lead. There are no words. I think there are plenty of words. Yeah, damn it. Shit. What the hell? Again? Yeah. Why, God, why? There are plenty of words to describe what we saw. Just my thoughts on it. Time for the drawing. We're an hour 50. We're 15 minutes past, but we are going to get to this drawing. Ike, tell them what they can win.
Yeah, man. You can get yourself a mug. If you want to get that mug, hashtag get your weight up. You got about 10 seconds because I don't like waiting. And we will get in here and do this drawing courtesy of War Eagle Oil. We appreciate them for continuing to support the War Rapport. But let's get to this drawing here. 52 entries. Somebody got to win. And tonight's winner for the mug is Chris Causey.
Chris Causey.
What's up, man? Let us know if you're still here. If not, we will definitely redraw.
Yeah, Chris, if you haven't done this before, you got to be here. We got to see you in the comments. at least somewhere close to the I don't see him anywhere close right now.
Oh,
so
he's
Chris. Oh, he's here. Oh, there he is. He says, "I'm here." Tell him what he can do with it.
Well, you need to listen. If you're not new to this, you definitely true to this. You need to go ahead and email us business@the-War Rapport with your address so I can get that mug out to you in the mail. Courtesy again of War Eagle Oil. WarEagleOil.com is your place for all of your motor oil and motor related products. But Chris, congratulations. Get us that email and we'll get your mug out to you.
Yeah. Congratulations, my guy. Oda says, ever since Pearl got that Pearl contract, it's been downhill. Maybe a little unfair.
Yeah, I mean, it's not because of anything that Coach Pearl has done that it's been downhill,
I think a little unfair, but
I don't. I mean, to this, he's not necessarily Coach Pearl has been bad since his contract. He's just mainly saying that since he got the contract, that's been the trajectory. But
yeah, interesting point there. Okay, so I want to close this out talking about the Bruce Pearl rant after the game. Listen, he's been holding back all season. Stephen Pearl came on our show and held back when asked. Like, what
Coach Pearl has been this has been, listen, again, I was at the Vanderbilt game. It was bubbling then. He wanted to say something then. He didn't say it.
Yeah, and there was another post-game presser that I was in where he was like, I can't say any more, guys. It was a pregame presser. I can't say any more, guys. I just got to go. Right? I got to go. Right? And he walked out of the room, and end of the season, losing to number 2 Bama on the road, he did not hold back. Ike, share with the people some of his comments in this, and give us your thoughts.
Yeah, listen, he was upset. He basically said that his guys were getting tackled all night. He went as far in the post-game presser. It's up on our channel right now if you want to hear him say it, that he's like, we're in Tuscaloosa, right? We're in Alabama. He's like, we had some defensive backs come and tackle our guy. He was just being blunt about the fact that he did not feel as if the whistles have been equitable. He mentioned at the end of the press conference that he feels like Janai Broome is one of the best big men in the league, and he's routinely in foul trouble, but never gets foul calls. He goes to the line the least of any of the premier big men in our league. He just feels like the whistles are not equitable for his guys. And again, it's not even that he was saying we're not fouling anybody, but they keep calling stuff on us. He's basically saying, all right, cool, we're fouling people, but you're saying they're not fouling us too? It's got to be like, let's make it fair. Let's make it even here. And he didn't hold back on that, right? He was on the Auburn radio, and people are making a big deal right now, him slamming the headset down in frustration. Listen, man, you had a chance to upset the number 2 team in the country, and you feel like the refs screwed you. Yes, you're going to be upset at that. Yeah. I'm sorry, especially when it's been a pattern for weeks of it being this way.
Yeah. Auburn has been on the receiving end of some very poorly officiated games all season. Have you been watching this? We've been saying it. Like, these games have not been well officiated. Now, I feel like the officiating wasn't so bad that they couldn't have won this game.
No, they definitely could have won this game.
Yeah, they could have won. With the poor officiating, they had opportunities. I mean, they had a chance to win it in regulation. Yeah. They got off a poor shot at the end. It wasn't even a good look. Right, it was just a poor execution. Again, who took that final shot in regulation?
In the regulation, it was Green.
It was Wendell, right? And I just have questions about how they couldn't draw up literally anything else except for a ISO one-on-one deal with Wendell. Just felt like, man, when this year has he hit that shot?
When in his career has he hit that shot?
To seal a game, man, like. It just didn't. I didn't like it. I would have been okay with Berman taking the shot if he were in the game.
Would have even gotten off that shot. But.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just saying if they were running an actual play to get him open.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, right. Like, I mean,
listen, you had 17 seconds. You had plenty of time. To go down there and execute a shot.
Plenty of time. I mean, it was tough to watch. So I have to, I share. It's the end of the season. Listen, they don't beat Tennessee. This team is NIT bound. There's no way they're winning the SEC tournament.
They still, like, crazily, they could lose to Tennessee and still make the tournament.
I don't know, man. I think
you're
on the bubble as you can be if you lose to Tennessee. Like,
for sure. Oh yeah, you're 100%. You've now taken it out of your hands and you're at the mercy of everybody. Like, you win to Tennessee, you're in. I don't know how you keep them out if they went to Tennessee. They could make it, but it ain't very.
Yeah, I
not very
mean, your
likely.
chances are slim, right?
Yeah.
So I agree with you. Like, if there's a chance, the same way there's a chance we get snow in Alabama, but like, I don't think it's great. So if Bruce Pearl had his, his druthers, I bet you he would
that's
prefer
part
to
of the
beat
frustration
Tennessee.
too. Is he knew he was 1 point in regulation away
from
solid, like not having to worry about what's going to happen in Tennessee.
Mhm.
Dylan Cardwell doesn't go down and get hurt in the overtime, right? Like it became a snowball thing. It's like we just missed our surefire chance of getting into the tournament by getting a quality quad 1 win.
Right.
Our big man that we're going to need against Tennessee just got hurt during that overtime period. And we got fouled a couple of times down the stretch where we didn't get any call. It was frustration building on top of frustration, on top of what has been happening for weeks. So I mean,
well, let me put it this way. Like, I mean, on Mike Back and Memes, Brandy and I have been. It's been, the question has been bullish or bearish, and we've been bearish on Auburn for weeks in terms of like, hey man, is it time to start talking about whether this team can make the tourney or not? Mm-hmm. Now, a lot of people weren't where we were at, but I was just like, yeah, I think it's time to start talking about it. And here we are at the end of the season talking about whether this team deserves to make the tourney or not. Now, I think that Bruce has built up enough goodwill, Ike, that if he's on the bubble because of how his passing, the Duke, North Carolina magical bias they get if they're on the bubble where you just take them. I think that he's kind of worked his way into that territory a little bit because in the net they respect it. Yeah. Now our guy Justin Ferguson pointed out on Twitter that Auburn didn't drop in the net at all after that loss,
which they probably shouldn't have. Like they were supposed to get spanked in that game. And
yeah,
they only lost by 5 in overtime.
Oh, in overtime, right? With 4 ejections,
right?
With 4 ejections. So I'm sorry. I said ejections. I mean 4 foul outs.
We were playing Chris Moore at the 5 and Leor Berman at the 4 at the end of that game. Trey Donaldson was our 3.
It hurt.
And we had KD and Wendell as the backcourt. That was the 5 that we had trotted out at the end of that game.
Auburn went 15 for 24 from the free throw line. I just want, before we end this segment, I just want to talk about some of the missed free throws. KD missed 4 free throws in overtime.
Yeah.
All 4 were back-to-back misses. Who was it that got that rebound after the first 2? Was it Moore that got that rebound?
Yes, Chris Moore.
Yeah, jumped in.
He made the second pair on that next trip, and then he
missed
the next.
And then he mixed the next 2.
Yeah.
Right. So 2 sets of back-to-back misses on free throws in a game that you lost by 5 points.
Yeah.
That definitely would have changed the end of the game scenario. Now, that doesn't mean that Auburn's down 1 necessarily, because it might change the way Bama does something, right? I just don't. I have an issue, like as much as KD did to keep Auburn in that game, the free throws still hurt.
Yeah, he's something like he's sub 50%. I don't know what the actual percentage is, but he's sub 50% over like the last 5 or 6 games from the free throw line.
That's terrible. I mean, for a struggling team, you think the one thing that these guys would do is go to the free throw line and hit free throws.
Yep.
He's 80% on the year, isn't he? He's supposed to like 80% came in and 80% free.
Yeah, on the, before coming into the year, yeah, he was in the 80%. I don't know what he is on the season, but I do know over the last 5 games, he's like sub 50%. It's atrocious.
Auburn shot 46% from the field and lost. Alabama started the game in the first half. They were in the 30s. They picked up their shooting. They ended at 43.9%. Now, if you've been watching this, I've been saying the mark for Auburn to have, is 45%, right? Their chances of winning go up significantly. They ended regulation tied. So I stand by that number. Where they lost it, when you look at this, they outshot Bama from the 3-point line. They were 60% from for 12 for 20 from the 3-point line. Yeah, Bama shot 8 for 31. They were 25%. So they looked more like Auburn from the 3-point line in this one.
That's just because Bama, they take a lot of they shoot a lot of threes, bro. Like they shot 31 threes in this game.
Auburn was out rebounding Bama until the end of the game. where they finished the game with a 1 rebound edge on Bama. And I think that's another thing that can get understated. Second chance points for Bama killed Auburn in the second half.
Yeah. And this is exactly what I talked about on the morning drop when we previewed this game. I was like, it's going to come down to whether or not Auburn can rebound in this game. If they do, they're going to have an opportunity to win it.
Yeah.
We only won the rebounding battle by 1, but we had like a 10 rebound edge on them for the vast majority of that game. And then you get your bigs in foul trouble and the rebounds start drying up.
Toward the end of the game, Bama took a slight edge in turnovers as well too. There were some untimely turnovers there by Auburn that really killed them to close regulation and to close overtime. It was tough to watch, guys. I don't have words at this point. Well, I do have words because I shared them with you earlier, but like it was not a surprising result.
Yeah.
Right now, I started the game watching it with my dad, and my dad is the guy. He was like, "This Wendell guy's too short, man. You can't play that short. He needs to grow." So he throws the remote to me, Ike, in the first 5 minutes. I'm going to my room, right? And I'm like, "All right, cool." So we ended up watching, and it was just one of those things where you have to find a way to get it done. At this point, I just don't know if this team has it. Even if they make the tournament, what kind of run can you expect this team to go on? How do you turn it around at this point? We're at the end of the season, right? Like,
yeah,
there's nothing to turn around. They got to hope the other team plays worse than they do at this point.
Yeah, I mean, there is very little opportunity for this team. Like, they might, sneak one win in the tournament right now with the way that they're playing. But I don't see how you get past the second round of the tournament playing the way that they do. And I mean, if you're going to be in the field of 68, you're going to have to play for play-in game, right? So like, I just don't know, how this team gets past doing that. You might win that play-in game into the tourney, and then you're probably going to lose the first actual tournament game. Like, that's about where you are right now with how you're playing down the stretch in games, because this is a team that has shown the propensity or the ability to be on the floor with just about anybody. As bad as we got beat by Kentucky, we played great the first like 10 minutes and 15 minutes of that game, right? Like, but then all of a sudden it was just like, we did enough, we're done.
Yeah.
Texas A&M, we lost by double digits to them. The second half of that game, some of the best basketball Auburn's played. The first 5 minutes of that game, but that middle stretch, terrible. We've showed the ability we can play with anybody on any court anywhere, but we can't do it for 40 minutes. We haven't done it for 40 minutes the entirety of the season against anybody. Like, Missouri was probably the only complete game we had this entire season. And the one time we play a complete game, we absolutely blow the doors off of the team.
Yeah. Well, listen, Auburn can't do it for 40 minutes, but the War Rapport can do it for an hour and a half. We can do it for 90 minutes here. So we're at the 90-minute mark. We're going to go ahead and close this out, but I want to get in a super chat real quick. Sports aside, everyone, we're on the verge of World War III. Just saying, I love you all. I'm a U.S. Marine combat vet. OEF, so my PTSD is taking over. We don't want that. I mean, listen, you've been watching. If you've been watching Auburn Sports, you got plenty of PTSD. You got plenty of practice in that category. But guys, we're going to close this out. Ike, give the people some housekeeping notes here at the end.
Yeah, absolutely. You guys need to become members. Membership is the best way to support us with money, right? That's the financial way that you can support us so we can continue to do all of the things that we do and stay off. We used to say, get us off these jobs, keep us off these jobs. You guys can continue to support us in those financial ways. If you are a member and you want to gift memberships, please do that so someone else can get that free month of membership, and they will appreciate all of the great content that's available for them. If you didn't get an opportunity to win something tonight, don't worry about it. You can head over to the War Rapport. WarReport.com has some great merch that is available for you guys to be able to look at. So go ahead and shop there. Just go visit the site periodically, browse some of the articles. We do have some great writing, Shout out to our guy Elliot, who's out there writing for us now. Once again, Elliot Huckabee has come on as a writer for the War Rapport. So we appreciate him for getting those articles out there. We're doing audio stuff. So we are a full-fledged media company now, man. It's not just YouTube, man. We got the audio stuff on podcast popping. We got the articles and things on the website popping. You guys can visit us in all of those places. The Auburn Express, though, is the podcast powered by the War Rapport. Got a lot of audio-only content that's dropping for you guys every single week. So if you're only watching on YouTube, you're not getting the full situation of what we got going on in War Rapport. We appreciate everybody who's continued to support us in all of the different places where we create and distribute content.
Yeah, listen, guys, you guys already know what to do. Share our content at the War Rapport. Use hashtag get your weight up. Like and subscribe. We're on the race to 20,000 subs. We have to be there like next month. So we got exactly 30 days to get to 20,000, or we're going to have to shut this entire thing down. You know what to do. Add us at the War Rapport on Twitter and Instagram. Ike is posting some tidbits there for you guys that you definitely want to see. TW Rapport on the TikToks. Guys, we're signing off our midweek report, but we'll be back at you guys Sunday with the weekend tailgate. And we got some building reports coming from you guys. So follow us on Twitter. You don't want to miss these interviews we have coming up. We're giving you guys hella interviews right now. But until next time, War Eagle.
War Eagle.